Hey, this week on the 167, we're talking about being a family on mission. Welcome to the 167.
1, 2, 3, let's go.
You just ruined my intro.
1, 2, 3, let's go!
Welcome back to the 167. I'm Pastor Lucas Motley, the discipleship pastor at New Life Community Church. With me is my lovely wife, Carissa.
Hello.
That was quite the hello. Carissa is a worship leader extraordinaire, freedom table leader, do everything
You
else.
don't, it's fine.
She's a helpmate suitable.
You don't have to go through all of that. I also feel like I'm going to sneeze, so I apologize in advance. If I sneeze, I will try not to do it in the microphone. But I feel it. You know, like when you feel a sneeze in your nose and it's just sitting there waiting for you?
Tickling.
Just, that's fair warning to everyone. Just letting you know.
Also with us is Megan May, the Connections
Director.
Director.
He still can't get my name or title right.
It's the alliteration. It's so tempting for pastors. It's Megan May, Connections. It's like, I want to put another C with it.
Anyway,
Good morning,
this is
everyone.
Megan.
This is
Welcome, Megan.
the director. She's directing a third of this podcast. Hey, we want to shout.
She should be.
We want to start today by shouting out our listener, Patricia. I got to meet Patricia in person on Sunday, and it was wild because I was just meeting her. She was a new guest, and I said, how did you find us? And she said, through the podcast.
Woo!
And so I think that might be a first, Patricia, that you are somebody who found the podcast first and then came to church because of the podcast. And so if you're out there, I know a couple of people listen to their podcast that they live out of state and they can't come to church. But if you live in the Kansas City area and you are listening to this podcast right now, we want to invite you to New Life Community Church. We're right off I-35 in Gardner at the Gardner Road exit. So yeah, check us out or go to our website, newlifegardner.com. Shameless plug. Hey, Patricia.
Yeah, welcome, Patricia. Thanks for
That's so
joining us on
awesome.
Sunday in person.
So this Sunday, we had just wrapped up our Family Fest weekend where we had worship on Friday night outside, and then we did our carnival on Saturday, and then had service together on Sunday. And so Pastor Rick was kind of casting the vision, and he talked about how New Life Community Church is a family on a mission. And so when Pastor Rick says that phrase, he's like, hey, we're a family on a mission. What immediately pops into your brain? Like, what parts of New Life do you think of, or what do you think that means?
Specifically for New Life to be a family on mission.
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking about? Okay, cool. Megan, what do you think?
What came first to my mind was thinking about all the different ministries and how they work together. So like how there's a mom and a dad and they're like children, and they all have different roles, but they're all for the same thing. Excuse me. And so I think of our youth group and I think of our young adults and how we're we're pretty different in what we do, how we do things, maybe the vision. Or maybe I'd say honestly the vision's the same, but how we do it is differently. Same with freedom and life groups, we're sharing the gospel, we're growing, all of our core values and things like that. We're just doing it differently. And so New Life overall, we have 1,200, 1,500, I don't know, a good amount of people doing things differently, but all together as a family in different parts of the community.
I think that I love when Megan's here because you have this great, unique perspective of you have grown up in this church. And so I think that family is a long-term thing, right? Like once you're in a family, right? And so sometimes you get to choose that and sometimes you don't. And so New Life being a family, again, I love the yes, we're all moving in the same direction. I think that's what New Life as a family, we're all moving in the same direction. I do think we have a really good handle on, like you said, the ministries trying to all move in the same direction, right? Like that as a family does, a healthy family does, that they're all kind of on the same plane, right? You're all working towards the same goals. But again, that longevity piece of I think it's cool that you grew up in this church. And so you have experienced things in a lot of different ways and contexts, but still the same church, right? And you're now getting to see the church work in the demographic you're in now, right? Like as a young adult and as a staff member. Yeah. And so I think that that's super cool and gives you such a cool perspective of what does that look like to keep the family on mission, right? Like in like you're saying, in different age groups, in different categories, in different serving areas.
Yeah.
How do we all stay on the same mission?
And I think too, like, it's not even just like what I said, yeah, I think is awesome too, but like New Life is a family. Like, I think about when I was growing up, like, you know, birth to now, New Life was our family. Like, the people in this church are our family. Like, that's so hard to describe to people. But like, my parents were here when they were painting the Moonlight property, and like Pastor Rick and a whole bunch of the men and women were painting our first house that we got into, and then they redid our deck, and like, you know, we had a bunch of people too, like they helped buy my parents a car like a couple of years ago. Like, and that wasn't New Life sponsor, but that was our New Life family, right?
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of people think of our big church, and of course it's amazing what the Lord is doing, but like, we are a family, you know, and I can't express like how special that is. When you do get plugged in and connected here, you will find your people and you will find your family.
Well, I think that's a really important like part where you're talking about like how are we living as a family on mission is like I was just talking to one of our young adults and they were going through something that's pretty traumatic, and they even said like I don't think my family cares about this. I don't think that, you know, they come from kind of a rough home life, and it's like, well, you can call somebody here. You know, like we will walk through this with you.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of our ministries, like our prayer ministry, you know, freedom ministry, it's really getting in the mess with people. And it's, you know, it's stuff that you can't just ignore. Like I think that sometimes even in people's personal families, like you said, we kind of differentiated a healthy family is that people will go, you know, to Thanksgiving and Christmas and we're like, we don't talk about this and we don't talk about this and we don't bring this up because we can't have any conflict and we can't have it. And it's like, no, like we're, you know, we are a church that we kind of get in the mess with people, and we don't expect you to have it all together, but you know, we'll try and help you through it. But that also means that we're going to acknowledge it.
Yeah. And I think that like, as Lucas sends out questions ahead of time. So just thinking about this concept of family, even the last couple of days, that there are a lot of connotations that come with the word family, right? People have had different experiences with family. And again, like that understanding that not everyone's family is healthy. Right? That there's a lot of dysfunction that happens in family. And so sometimes like saying, oh, like at New Life, we're a family. I feel like for some people that might be actually triggering in a lot of ways, right? To just use, it's just that word, right? And so that people have had unhealthy family experiences. And so I love that we get the opportunity to be like, no, here's what a healthy family looks like.
Well, it's also a phrase that gets used by corporations to abuse their employees.
For sure.
It's like, oh, we're just a family, which means you work overtime for free.
Sure.
It's just like, that's what it means. And so like people I think are leery of that phrase.
Yeah.
Rather than saying like, no, that means that we care for you. And we, like I you know, we teach step one, and I think I've said this on the podcast before, but we kind of have a unique way of teaching it when we talk about church membership, because people are like, oh, does that mean we get to vote? And I'm like, no, but it means that we adopt you essentially. That so I talk about when we adopted our girls, and I said that we explained that to them, like, you're going to put on our jersey, you're going to represent us in the community, and then as a result, we have a responsibility to you.
Yeah.
And so that's the hardest thing I think about being a family on mission as far as a church organization goes, is when you're in, like you said, like once you connect, you find your people, you do this, you know, like, and so, but there's this awkward kind of dating phase where people are like, I don't know if I want to tell all my junk here. I don't know if I can trust these people. I don't know. And then once you do, like, then you're like, oh, everybody's like me, and I found this place I can share myself, and you know, people will pray for me, and all these kind of things. But until that, it almost feels kind of like, you know, joining a family, like you're the in-laws or whatever. You know, it's like when you're getting married, it's like, I don't know if I should say this at Thanksgiving. You know, like, and so there's this awkwardness. And so I want to reassure people, like, you know, we will have a responsibility to you. So it's like, if you want to join the family, then it's on us. We're going to, be responsible to care for you and to do those things. And then you're going to be responsible for us and accountability and all those other things. So, but it's a very, like you said, I think a very loaded term for some people to say that, oh, we're family.
Yeah.
It's like, what does that mean?
Right. And to understand that, you know, families aren't perfect, and a church family is also not going to be perfect. And so if you come in with an expectation that is faulty, I think whatever expectations we have is what we're going to look for, and what we're going to, you know, try to, like, oh, well, I don't know if I can trust these people, or I don't know if this is going to be a healthy family. then that's what you're going to find, because you that's what you're looking for, right? You're looking for dysfunction. So, in the terms of like, okay, New Life is a family on a mission. Like, yes, I think anyone who's been here for any amount of time, like that's very clear, right? Like we get that and we understand that. And we know what the mission is, right? Like we love God, we love people, and we want more people to come find God, right? To know God and find freedom, and the things that Rick talked about on Sunday too. Is like all of those are important to keep yourself open to exploring what does it mean to be part of this family, right? Like how do I come into this family? Like the in-laws thing that you just said is really like that's tricky, right? You're recently married. I remember when we got married, it was like that whole dynamic of finding how do you be part of a new family? How do you fit in a new family? How do you figure out, does that, how do you adapt to that? So I know that can be tricky for people coming into a church family. Same kind of feelings maybe sometimes.
I prefer to use awkward humor to ingratiate myself to my in-laws.
I know. Yes.
Makes me cringe just thinking about that.
I don't know if that ingratiated you, but
They pity me. Anyways,
it's been 17 years. It's fine.
I want to, in just a second, I want to ask how this affects us personally as families to be on mission. But I do want to explore, like, what do you guys think about? So, like, when I think about being on mission, like, the best thing I can do, I'm a analogy guy, I'm a picture guy, I try and picture it in different contexts. And so, if you think about any movie or book that you've seen where it's a family that's put into a situation where they have to get through it as a family. Like there's a million of these books, cartoons, movies where it's like, okay, now the family has to, like a classic one is there's going to be some kind of action comedy where the family ends up in a really bad situation and then they have to get through it as a family and work as a team and move forward.
Yeah.
And I think that adds a dynamic to a church when you're not just a family. Because when you're a family as a church, that turns into a country club, right? It becomes these are my people and nobody else can come. And I see this a lot in life groups. In life groups, what happens is people are really leery about joining a life group. It's 10 other people. You try and put 12 people in a life group. You come in as a couple and there's 10 other people, and you go in and you say, okay, now I put myself out there, and now we've become really good friends, and we go to dinner, and then it's like, hey, that's really great. There's more people that need to experience that. I need you to multiply your life group, basically split apart the life group and add more people into them. So I have 2 healthy groups instead of just 1. And people are like, no. Like, no. This is my new family. These are my people. What am I supposed to do about this? And it's like, that's when you're just a family. But if you're a family on mission, that's different.
Yeah.
If you're a family and our mission is to make healthy life groups and to have everyone in church be in a healthy life group, now your family goes, man, this is tough. I love you. We're gonna be on mission together.
Yeah.
We're gonna do the thing because that's what we're about. And so sometimes being a church on mission means that I don't get my own way all the time, or like I can't have the personal attention of the people that I want to have the personal attention of, because we're supposed to be growing and loving, and then I'm supposed to be mentoring other people as well.
Yeah.
So even when we look at that as a church, so if you look at it through that lens, what are some of the things that you think are hard to not just be a family, but be a family on mission? And what are the things that you see New Life doing that in a couple of different ways?
Okay, when you were saying that, I thought of the life group draft is what we called it. So we did that in our young adults life groups. When we had life groups, we had Lucas's and Landon's. And I used to be in Lucas and Carissa's, like growing up through college. And then senior year, I met Jonah, and him and Trey invited me to Landon's, and we had like 5 to 8, 9 people in both groups. And I remember like getting really close with Landon and Blaze. We loved it. And then fall comes again, and Lucas is like, okay, we got to split this up. And everyone was like, oh my gosh, like, no, we can't. Everyone is so, because we had Colby in there, and everyone like that. And then we were like, okay, let's do it. And then Reed came, right? And then like Joel came, and more people are like splitting in. So then we went back to Lucas and Carissa's, and we went here, and then Kylie, and I met Morgan, like all these beautiful, amazing people that I loved so dearly. I don't know. So you were saying that and I thought of that and how funny that was, because for us it was like, oh my gosh, no, like we can't, like, you get so scared,
right.
but then you get to meet so many more people and then you get to share, life with so many more people.
And then after that, we pivoted from life groups to meeting here at the church.
Yes. Yes.
People were upset about that.
So many people are so sad. They're like, we miss it. I'm like, okay, then have a life group. Like,
Yeah.
You can do that, but yeah.
I think that's the thing, and that's a really good example of, we know that was hard for you guys, all of you, but that was like, we were asking you, like, for the sake of more people
Right.
being able to be a part of this, will you make this sacrifice? And so that's what I think about in terms of being on mission, and like even personally, right? Like for us, that's your next question, like what's your personal journey with being on mission? So I'm going to kind of transition because I think they go together, but I think that idea of being able to look at the bigger picture, right? And be like, okay, so I have had this great experience, right? I have made these connections with these people and I've built this community, and, I feel us moving in this same direction. And instead of just sitting in that and staying comfortable and not, opening that up to more people, right? Like that's the sacrifice, though, is like, okay, this is going to be hard for me personally, right? I understand that there's a cost to this. I have to like expand my horizons, right? Or I have to do something that maybe I don't particularly want. I have to meet new people. I have to be, right? Like all of that stuff where it's like Lucas is saying too, it's just this, that gives more people the opportunity to experience what you've experienced. And like, that is hard. And so I think it's the idea of sacrifice, like living on mission involves sacrifice, because it involves going like, it's not just about me. And I think that is something that we, Lucas and I, with our kids, there's a lot of times where they will ask, why can't we do this? And why can't we do this? And why can't we do this? And, it's like just a one that recently, I just told somebody about this, but it had been a thing in the past, was like, one of our daughters really wanted to play rec league volleyball. And we just had to look at her and be like, hey, that actually, all of the meets or matches are on Sunday mornings. And so like, we can't do that. We can't do that. Like and so we had to ask her, like, you have to make this sacrifice. Like, you are not going to be able to do that, because our mission is about being part of this family here at church. And I know that that's a hard thing too for a lot of parents to look at their kids and be like, well, we're on a mission. And so like you're saying, you have to come on with us. And that can be a hard thing to ask of your kids and kind of set those expectations.
Yeah. I mean, growing up as a pastor's kid, I think I have just recently realized how hard that is for my parents growing up. Because, it's like that where, like I said, one of our daughters, she started doing track this year, and then our other daughter was in soccer, and then we have all these things. And there are some times where I'm just like, yeah, I'm not going to be there. Like, I'm not going to be at your meet. I'm not going to be at your game. Why? Well, we have freedom. We have this, we have that. And it's like, that's not who we are as a family. We are not a sports family. We are a Jesus family.
Yeah.
And so I understand that you want to play sports, but that's not our mission. And so you have to make sacrifices for the mission. And so this time every year, it's funny because our older girls don't ask about it anymore, but our younger girls, like little kids, verbally process. And so like right now, all they're talking about is how they can't celebrate Halloween. And like, they're like talking themselves through it. Yeah. So-and-so asked me if I was going to celebrate Halloween. And I said, no, we don't do that because we're Christians. And I was like, oh, sweetheart. Well, and she goes, and I told my friend that. She goes, well, I'm a Christian. I shouldn't celebrate Halloween either. I was like, okay, all right, I'm going to get a phone call from a parent,
Right.
And so, but yeah, we just like, yeah, we don't celebrate that because that's not glorifying to God, and we're on mission, so we don't do that. And so, but I remember, you're going to have to help me. I don't even remember this guy's name. I kept trying to look it up. It wasn't Alan Hirsch. There was a book, it was like The Missional Family. Do you remember who wrote that?
Nope.
He was a church planner out in Colorado. But of the whole book, the one story that always stuck with me was he tells a story about his daughter who had become friends with a girl who was in an abusive relationship. And so he kept trying to like kind of warn her. And then they were at a get together, and her abusive boyfriend came after her, and his daughter stepped in between them. And he like bounced her head off a car windshield. And so she ended up with a concussion. She was a hockey player, so that was like her third concussion. It ruined her hockey career. And it was just this, and so he said that he was like driving the city. And this is a big dude. He's like 6'6", huge guy. And he was driving around looking for this kid because he was just going to, tear him up. And his daughter called him from the hospital bed and said, "Hey, you need to come and see me." And so he's like, "No, I'm going to find this kid. You got to," and she's like, "No, come and be with me." And so he went, he sat by her hospital bed and he held her hand and she said, "Did you think this was going to be easy?" And I was just like, oh my God, like I'm, as a father of daughters, I'm like dying inside. And he said, that she basically looked at him and said, "You're the one that put us on this path. You're the one that told me to, step in and protect people and to, care for people and be in the mess with them." And she's like, "Did you think I wasn't going to get hurt? Did you think I wasn't?" And she's like, "I'm fine with it." And he's just falling to pieces. And I'm like, that thing has stuck with me forever, is the idea that sometimes I think we leave our kids behind. Where that's the choice, right?
Yeah.
Is either I go to church and I leave my kids at home, or I leave them behind, or you take your kids with you on mission.
Yeah. I think like too what you said excuse me, the other day, we had a worship night for Next, which was awesome, by the way. So you should definitely go Sunday nights at 7. Shameless plug. But
If you're 18 to 29.
yes, and graduated high school. Okay. So you were talking about mature Christians and what does that look like for you? And so you talked about how you become a Christian, you're kind of on fire for it, you're ready, and you're kind of learning and like what Jesus is about, and you're reading your Bible. And then you get to a point where you're like, you're kind of lost in church attendance, and maybe you're the person like, I can just go and like I can read my Bible and fish by myself, and that's awesome, and I don't really need to go to church. And then you mature a little bit more and you're like, oh, I am the church. Like I am here and I am a part of the body and I need to be here. And church isn't just serving me, it's serving others. And that is how I get filled up by the Lord. And I have my own personal, all that stuff. And so I think as you were talking about your children, like growing up, being able to actually am living this right now, like my perspective of just like, oh, like one of the little pieces of that was like when we did that life group draft, I remember texting Carissa and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, like I don't know who to be with and and me and Jonah were like, well, are we going to be, we were like, everyone was like so scared about it. It was kind of funny, honestly, to look back at how silly that was. But, you take all of your comfortability.
That's what wisdom feels like.
You take all your comfortability away. But I remember being like, well, this isn't for me. Like, yes, I'm in this group, but I was like, I've been in here for a couple of years now. Like, this isn't for me. Like, I'm a part of this for others. And obviously, yes, for me, and I still learn and I'm still going to read the Bible, but I'm not the new person here anymore. Right.
Yeah.
And so it's that like maturity of growing up and being like, oh, I am the church. Like, this is my mission. Right.
Yeah.
Like, it's the lifestyle. It's not just my parents are bringing me along or I'm doing what I want to do. It's like, no, I'm doing what's good for the church.
Yeah.
You
That's really good.
Like we get hungry for that. Like I know that you have coffee with Carissa a lot. So it's like, I want to be mentored. and I'm not projecting this on you. I'm just saying like that's the phase where you're like, I want to be mentored. Why isn't so like I want a spiritual mother and a father, and I want this and this and this, and it's like, yes, but who are you taking to coffee?
Yeah.
Like who are you mentoring? Because there are other people that need that.
Yeah, that's good.
So a lot of times when we talk about our mission here at New Life Community Church, though, it's very focused on evangelism, and that's one of our 5 core principles. That an empty seat is a serious matter, that we want to share that. That's why we do things like Family Fest, Kids Fest, VBS, like all these different things. We're reaching out to the community, Big Serve coming up. Like we want to be able to tell people about Jesus, because if that is the only thing that we do, that is probably the most important thing and has the most eternal impact. But when we're doing those things, evangelism, when we talk about that, what do you picture that? Like when I say the words, hey, we're going to go evangelize, like what does that mean to you? Is it something that you're like, oh, that's like when we stand on the street corner and yell at people with megaphones? Like what do you picture when somebody says, hey, we're going to go do evangelism?
Well, do evangelism feels, yes, it feels very much like.
Or if I say, I need you to make evangelism a priority in your life.
Yeah, so I think that it does make me think about, like, I have to go out and find people and like so here's my own perspective. The word evangelism to me in my mind feels aggressive. Okay. It feels like I have to go out and find someone who doesn't know Jesus and I have to tell them about, like, it just feels like this, like, weight. It feels heavy. It feels like pressure, right? Like, and that's just my own like connotation about that word. Is that it is like this the street corner preacher, right? Like Pastor Rick was talking about that in his sermon. And it, like, to me, it feels confrontational. Maybe not aggressive, confrontational. I think a lot of times when I think of let's go do evangelism, it feels like intimidating, because to me, in my perspective, it feels confrontational. I don't think it has to be, right? I just think that that's what that word sparks in me. And so it raises some fear, right? Like, I don't like confrontation. Now, there are certain people in this room who like confrontation.
Are they in the room with us now?
Rhymes with Blucas. Yeah. But that's not me, right? So I don't enjoy confrontation. And so when I think of evangelism, I think, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to confront someone with the gospel. That feels really scary, right? And I don't think it's supposed to be, but I'm just like, that's my initial reaction. Like, okay, evangelism. Right? Like, I don't know. That's kind of just like that when you're saying, what do you picture? That's what I picture. I mean, I'm just being honest. Like, that's what I picture.
That's so funny. I feel like, which I think you have a picture of what a lot of people have.
Yes.
Like, so many people have that. Like, there's just one time that we planned in Next to do an evangelism night and to go pray for the city of Gardner.
Right.
And I remember telling Lucas, I was like, okay, so we're not going to, or no, was it your idea? I can't remember. We were like, we're not going to tell them. We're just going to jump them with this idea.
I had done it before you got
That
in
sounds
the
like a
Next.
Lucas
Yes.
idea, though.
Well, like, so when we did it, I couldn't remember if you were like, oh no, we're not going to tell people or not.
Yeah, because you were like, wait, are we going to warn people? I was like, no, they won't show up.
And because I remember like, okay. So, but I was like, we need to do this again, because I had not done it with Next when Lucas had done it previously. And so I was like, okay, we want to do it. And a lot of things about Next is we really try to focus on actionable faith, like not just, reading your Bible, but like living it in lifestyle. And so I was like, let's do this. And so I remember telling Jonah about it like the day before or the day of or something. And he just looked at me and he was like, just so not wanting to do it, not ready for it.
That's why you don't tell them.
And he's a person who is so good at evangelizing like day to day. And anyway, so we get there and everyone, like Lucas tells everybody what's happening, and you could just see the fear, like everyone's just like looking at other people. And I was like, this is gonna be so great. Like it ended up like there were so many people that night that was their first night at Next that came back because that was such a good experience for them. And it was scary, and we went to Walmart, and there was too many of us in one area, so people getting prayed for multiple times. People were getting annoyed at us, but it was still amazing, and like it helped people realize like, oh, like this is what you do, right?
Sure.
I don't know. So that was a really really funny time. But for me, I feel like evangelism isn't just like, when I think about that, I do think about it in that way because we've done that, and I really do enjoy that. I really enjoy connecting with people and talking with people, even though it is terrifying to me too. Okay, but I think about like the 7-minute stories that we do, and just like sharing your story with people, whether they're Christians or not, or whether they're far along in their journey or not. Like, that is sharing the gospel and what God has done in your life, and I think that's such a beautiful thing. And whether it's through coffee dates and relationships with people, or genuinely being like, do you know Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior? Like, both of them work, right? Depending on what you want to do.
Yeah.
But
I just think it's funny that slowly Megan is realizing all like the Jedi mind tricks that I've sprinkled into the ministry. She's like, yeah, it's like when we do our 7-minute story, it's like, you can use that for evangelism. I'm like, yes, that's why we do that. It's like, nobody knows. I'm like, oh no, we're just sharing our story amongst friends. Oh wait, you're really practiced at that? Oh, now you can tell some perfect stranger your story in 7 minutes. So yeah, I just think it's funny with Christians, because I think a lot of Christians are afraid of personal evangelism, and I prefer that. Like, I see Christians on TikTok, and it's like they're just like, I'm just speaking into a phone, and I'm trying to share the gospel with like some random person on the internet, maybe if you have 5 followers. Just like, that weirds me out. Like, I'm always just like, I don't want to do that. If I sit with somebody, I can look at their body language and I can see how they're receiving it. And a lot of times it's that, it used to be that thing where it's just like, oh yeah, let's go to Austin's and get a Coke and a smile, and I'm just gonna tell you my story, and then that's it. Like, that's all that there is to it. And then it's just like, you just talk about Jesus, and it's like, I'm much more comfortable with that than trying to do that, because I feel like a lot of Christians, they try to do it in impersonal ways. They don't want to walk up to somebody and say, hey, can I pray for you? Let me tell you about Jesus. They don't want to do that at all, and so they will try everything that they can to not do that. They will talk into their phones to nobody, and go,
Yeah.
look at me, I'm evangelizing on TikTok and Instagram. And I'm like, I think that there's a reason and a ministry for that. But I think that is, for some people, less, like you said, confrontational maybe.
Yeah.
And, and I really think that a lot of Christians will, now hear me when I say this, like hear the whole thing. I think that you should live in such a way that it is evident to people that you have something that they don't. I do not think that is a replacement to be able to tell them why. Because that's what everybody's like,
Sure.
oh, I live like Christ, and that's my evangelism. And I'm going, but eventually somebody's going to ask you,
Right.
what's different, and then you're going to go,
Yeah.
and then they're going to call me and be like, will you come talk to my atheist friend? No, like I'm not going to. My job is to train you to do it.
Well, and there's, like Scripture tells us, First Peter, it says always be prepared to give an answer to anybody who asks you for the reason for the hope that you have. So like, why are you different? We need to be able to say that, right?
Right.
Like we need to be able to say, it's because Jesus has radically transformed my life, right? Like radically changed the way that I want to live. And I believe in this stuff and this is real. Like we do need to be prepared for that. And that's evangelism. That's telling our own story.
Well, but I think that there's a confrontation now, even in culture, because
Yeah.
even if you have a Bible out reading it, like that is offensive to people.
Sure.
And so I think that there's a simultaneous thing where Christians are like, well, I just live my life a certain way. And I'm like, well, yeah, you live your life a certain way, but also a lot of people are also hiding in plain sight in Christianity. Like
yeah.
it's, if you go to the corporation or you go to work or whatever, and you're scared to tell people that you're a Christ follower, then you're not necessarily living out the gospel. You might be a really nice person, but it's like, you're not, hey, we're going to give you the rate, you're going to be in charge of the radio at the work site today. You're not blasting K-Love because you're scared. You're scared somebody's going to ask you about it.
Yeah.
So I think it's got to be more than just being a nice person, and that like evangelism eventually has to be telling the good news.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, one of your questions down here was like, why is it so hard for people? And I think confrontation, we've kind of talked about that, but there were 3 things that I thought about that I wanted us to debunk. Okay.
Okay, go.
Like I wanted us to like really talk about and
Who's
just like
us
help
in this situation? You can debunk it. Go ahead.
us as in more thoughts too. But people are afraid of rejection.
Yes.
So if I say, can I talk to you about this? Or can I pray for you? People are going to say no. Like that is honestly one thing our society needs to get over. Like, I don't know. I say that with a lot of aggression. I don't want to be aggressive, but people are going to say no to you, and that's okay. Just let it roll off your back. Like, I don't know. That's a life thing that you need to learn.
So you were praying for people at Walmart. When somebody said no to you, how did it feel?
Oh my gosh. 3 out of the 4 people said no to me.
Sure.
Like, so there was one lady who was Muslim, and she was just like, no, thank you. Like, I just don't. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Like, have a good day. Like, have a blessed day, whatever. She's like, okay. Then another lady I went to.
I'm so proud of you. If you walked up to somebody in a hijab and were like, can I pray for you?
She would, well, yeah, I guess I don't know. I just didn't care. Like, the Lord, I said, God, tell me who
Lord,
I should
bring me
pray
somebody
for.
non-confrontational.
I said, tell me who I should pray for. And they just got highlighted.
Yeah,
And so I was like, so I went, and did it. And then another lady was Catholic, and she was like, I go to church. I'm okay. And I was like, is there anything like you're going
I
on
go
in
to
your
church.
life?
I don't need prayer.
Right. And I was like, okay. Like I tried to ask her a little bit, and she was like, no, I'm okay. And I was like, okay, cool. Went to the next person, and so there's fear of rejection, but like that's
Yes.
gonna happen at all times in your life, whether you're, trying to ask someone out on a date, whether you're trying to pray for someone, whether you get a job and you don't get the job, like that happens so many times in our lives. And if you're just afraid of it, you're never gonna confront it, and then you're always gonna like be living in this like, and to me, like that's worse living in that than just being like, okay, move on, right?
Yeah, I always think rejection is one of those things where I'm like, it's just reps. Like you just have to get used to it. It's like the first time somebody says no and rejects you, you're like, and then you do it a second time, you're like, oh, I guess it's not that bad. Like
Right.
the world doesn't end.
Right.
You don't like wake up the next day a social pariah. And so it's like, then the third time it's like, nah, it's not so bad. And then like the fourth time it's like, that person just missed an opportunity. And like, it changes your,
Yeah. Your perspective.
Yeah, and I was
Yes.
talking about, I had a friend in college, his name was Matt, and Matt had a date every weekend, but it wasn't because he had a lot of game, it was because he asked a lot.
And good for Matt,
He
right?
would work his way through the room. If there was 30 girls at the party, he would just keep asking until someone said yes.
Does
And
he
he'd
have
be
a
like,
wife now?
I don't know.
Oh, Matt.
But that was, yeah. I'm like, everybody's like, Matt has more dates than any of us. I'm like, that's just because he asks. He's not afraid of rejection.
Yeah. So I think that was definitely one that a lot of our young adults are like, when we talk about that, or when we talk about going to pray for people, they're like, oh, what if they say no? Like, okay, then say
What's
okay.
the other thing you wanted to debunk?
Okay, there's 3. Second one, not knowing the answers. So whenever you like atheist friend, or even just like someone who's a Christian or someone who is a different religion, like, you know, one, I think people get in their heads that everyone is going to have huge questions for you. Like when you just ask for prayer for them, they don't. Most of the time people say, of course, I love prayer, whether they're Christian or not, like, you know. Anyways, so it's not having the answers. And that used to scare me a lot too, because I don't like being wrong. And so, but I'm wrong a lot. I realize that now. But just being able to have humility and just say, you know what, instead of saying like, oh, I don't know my faith, and then it kind of derails you, just saying like, oh, like I have Carissa, and I'm going to text her, and I would love to research that question with you. Like, I would love if you want to research it too, and like kind of making it something together instead of you feel like pinned down, like, we don't have to be like Charlie Kirk, right? This person who knows all the answers. Because I feel like a lot of people see that and they're like, that's what evangelism is. Yes, but also it's a relationship, right? And even if it's just someone on the street corner, like, and they start, you're forming a relationship with someone, whether you see them again or not. Like, you know, I don't know the answer, but I think that's a great question that I would love to research personally. And you know what I mean? So like facing it like that, instead of like facing it like you, this prideful person that has to know everything, will also change that for you too.
Yeah, I think that's really insightful. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. That's good.
I think that you either have to be one or the other. I think you either have to be Charlie Kirk to be able to sit there. He's debating, so that's different.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
But other than that, if you don't have the answer and you're not sitting there with your friend, then it's a trap. Like you said, it's like, well, you know, I have this question. And you're like, oh, I don't know the answer. It's like my trap has sprung, because now I'm going to trap you into doing a Bible study with me. Oh, man, that is a big question. We should meet every Tuesday to talk about that and bring our laptops. Here, let me buy you a Bible. Here, you should go home and read that. Like, here, let's research it together. And it's like, oh, I've just trapped myself in homework.
Yes. Well, I think
That's good.
I love that. I love that. And the third one, oh gosh, no.
It's got 3 points. It's a sermon.
Mini sermon here. Oh, is what society thinks of you, what people will think of you. So that's not necessarily, for me, rejection and that are 2 different things, right? So what people think of you, of like, they see me in Groundhouse, and I almost did this once and I didn't, and I hate myself to this day. I don't hate myself, but I'm frustrating myself to this day because
we're about to do deliverance on Megan.
There's a guy that came in and the Lord told me to pray for him, and I was sitting down. I don't know if I was working. I can't remember. I was like, no, I'm not going to pray for him. I'm not going to pray for him. That's weird. Like, he's up there talking. And I was like, I can't pray for him. But I should have. And to this day, I'm like, gosh darn it, Megan, why didn't you just pray for him? Why didn't you just ask? Right? I don't know. But, and a few of those, you know, rejection or whatever. But what people think of us is a big part.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's like, okay, like something weird happens and then you walk away. Like, I don't know, letting things roll off your back is such a good thing to learn in your life, and I'm still learning that, as I think a lot of us are, you know, but not caring what the world thinks, because ultimately, like, if you think about it, like, we're here to make heaven crowded, and that's literally it. We're not here for a job. We're not even here for our children, for our families, and like all of that is a mirror of Christ, and that's why we have them. But if you think about like, why am I here, that helps you kind of like remember, oh, I'm here because I'm here to make heaven crowded. Yeah. And that's how you share the gospel, and that's how you not care about society, because society's wrecked anyways, okay? Okay, I'm done.
I like fiery Megan.
Get her riled
I
up.
like this. I think the word I keep thinking is reputation, right? Like, so it's like fear of reputation, and just like you're saying, like, what are people going to think about you? Yeah, I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, who cares?
Right.
I was just having this conversation with a friend yesterday about it. So I teach at a college, and I told her that just recently, the arts team thought it would be funny to read my Rate My Professor reviews.
Oh my gosh, I want to do that so bad.
So Sydney read them out loud to me, and I was like, this is like when celebrities read mean tweets about themselves. Like, this, are you going to make me read my own reviews?
They were mean? I thought you had like a 98.
I have a really good score, but like students who want to say something bad are going to say it, right? So it wasn't even bad, but it was like, she's going to, you have to do everything her way or it's wrong. And I looked at Sydney and I was like, yeah. I mean, like, I'm teaching you how to do a thing, right? So yes, you have to do it the way that I tell you to do it. Duh. So I was like, I'm not even mad about that. Like, I don't care.
This isn't home ec. We're writing an essay.
Right. Like, I don't even care. Like, yes, and you don't get mad when there's a algebra formula you have to follow, right? Like, why is this anyway? So it was that thing though of like, yes, I don't care. I don't care what you think about me. Like, I still am going to do my job the right way. Right. So it's like this idea of I don't really care what other people think about me. I know that this is more important, right? The gospel is more important than what you think about me.
Yep.
Speaking the truth to other people, like even other Christians, other believers, like speaking the truth to other believers is more important ultimately than what they think about me, right? Like, I'm not going to let you sit in something that's not true, right? Because I'm afraid that you'll stop being my friend or you'll stop liking me. Like, I also have just kind of gotten past that in my life. And I mean, that was a long season.
Yeah.
I did have that for a long time.
Yeah.
That's what I think is funny about people don't want to talk to strangers, like to evangelize strangers, and like, well, at least you're never going to see them again.
Right. Okay, bye. Like,
That's
you're never
true.
going to see him again.
Yeah, what do you care what they
See-
think of
See you
you?
later. Yeah.
So I don't know, but like, did you have Romans called up?
Yes,
Pastor Rick shared
I
that.
sure do.
Romans 10:13 through 15.
I do have it pulled up in NLT, which, I'm just going to let you know that Lucas does not like. Lucas prefers ESV.
No, that's not true. NLT is very readable.
That's why I enjoy NLT. So Romans 10:13 through 15 says, "For everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. But how can they call on him to save them unless they believe in him? And how can they believe in him if they have never heard about him? And how can they hear about him unless someone tells them? And how will anyone go and tell them without being sent? That is why the scriptures say, how beautiful are the feet of messengers who bring good news," which I love that is a quote, right, from Paul's quoting there from Isaiah. So like, this isn't just a New Testament concept, right? Like, that's Old Testament. The prophet Isaiah is like, how beautiful are the feet of the messengers who bring good news. Like, this is timeless, that idea of bringing the good news.
Well, the thing about Isaiah is, and this is what, like, I don't think anybody would do it if you had to do this, where he says, he's going to deliver this message, and he's like, well, we have to purify you. And he says he touches a hot coal to his lips,
Yeah.
to purify him. And then he, and Isaiah's the one, God's just going, I don't know, who am I going to send? I got this message. I don't have a messenger. And Isaiah's like, ooh, here am I, send me.
Yeah.
And it's like, a lot of us is like, no, pick somebody else.
Megan's going to do it. Lord, can you please give that word to Megan and she can deliver that word so I don't have to.
But I get that phone call all the time. Oh, I have a family member, I have a friend or whatever. Would you come talk to them about Jesus? And I always want to I always say yes, because I'm like, why not? But I'm always sitting there going like, why don't you tell them about Jesus?
They're your family.
Yeah. But so
But
like,
I think that the answer to that is, like, those were three great things, right? Rejection, reputation, and what was the third one? Middle one.
Oh, gosh.
Didn't start with an R. They were all great though. Rewind.
oh, now we're
She
gonna
is
need
making
to
a
get an
sermon.
R.
Rewind and
Oh,
listen.
it was not answering the questions.
And having to know
Expertise.
everything. Expertise, yeah. That like literally is like, that's why we're waiting for someone else to share. Like, that's why people call you, because you're
it-
the expert. You're a pastor,
Wait, what
right?
were the other R's? Rejection, reputation, and
Reputation.
revelation.
We made a sermon.
Bam!
Made a sermon. But I think about too I'm gonna probably say this wrong, but so they were, is it Muslims, or there was a group of people who were having dreams about Jesus and like
Yeah.
radically coming to Christ, like thousands of people, and so many people were like, oh, this is so awesome, this is great, which I think is awesome and great, but like, honestly, okay, this is probably a hot take, but to me it's kind of embarrassing as Christians that we're not going out enough and we are not sharing the gospel. The Lord is
Sure.
like, dream, like, you know what I mean, like he's having to do this, which
Well, I understand in Muslim countries because you can get beheaded for
Right.
sharing the gospel. But like people in America, I think are preferring that as well. Like, Lord, please send my friend a dream. And it's like, it's not illegal for you to tell your friend about Jesus
Sure.
here.
Right. Well, and I love, like, at step one, we also talk about like building the church and like talking about that in evangelism. And it's like, Lord, please bring more people to church and bring more people to the doors. And you're like, no, like, Lord, who should I bring through the
Right.
doors? Who should I talk to?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. There's a lot of personal responsibility involved in that. Like, yeah, don't just wait. Like, yes, the Lord can send people, but also you can bring people,
Right.
right? You can invite people.
But that goes back to what you said, which was me sharing the gospel is more important than my job. It's more important than embarrassment. It's more important than, and it's like, that's the difference of being on mission. Am I trying to accomplish my mission, or am I just a family?
That's good. Yeah.
It's like, am I a family on mission, or am I just a family?
Yeah.
And so I just want to close with this is, if you had to give somebody a tip, what's one thing you could change in your daily life to be more evangelistic, to be more on mission, what would you advise somebody to do?
Our daughter is actually really great at inviting people to church. She does it all the time. And it's one of my favorite things about her. She just got a new job and she was like, oh, and I told this person about church and they're probably going to come on Sunday. And I was like, sweet.
It is. So
I mean, it's just
she's
like,
probably,
it's just so much of like, so natural for her. Oh, I was just talking to somebody about church and yeah, they're probably going to come on Sunday.
like we struggle with her like talking to strangers and boundaries, but that is the side effect that is positive.
She talks to everyone and invites them to church. And like, she has never been embarrassed about that, which I think is also just this fascinating thing. Cause like teenagers, right? Like that's cool. But it was like when we first moved into our house, she told all our neighbors about church and she invited them all to church, right? Like she was like 8 years old. So it's just, I love, that is a thing that I'm like, yes, I love that. I think that that is great. And I think that that is something to aspire to, that's just so much a thing that you're excited about, that you want people to experience that with you, right?
Yeah.
That you're just
I like you and I like church,
Yeah.
so why wouldn't I invite you to where?
hey, yeah, that's great. So more like that. I like that.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna have a churchy answer, but I'm gonna try to debunk. I guess not debunk it, but go through it a little bit.
Is it an R?
No, it's not an R.
Okay.
No. So this is one that I'm personally kind of walking through right now too, that I wanted to share to other people as well. Is the idea of like walking in the spirit. And so, and I know when I say that, everyone's like, what the heck does that mean, Megan? Like, honestly, it's just being intentional about, your relationship with the Lord, like day in and out, every second, like everything that I say, everything that I think, everything that I do would be glorifying to God and listening to God. Like, God, what should I do in this moment? God, how do I do this? How do I respond? What should I say? You know, how can I outserve this person? How can I, whatever, like whatever you do, it should be intentionally like walking in the spirit, like, you know, Holy Spirit, like literally walking in the spirit, right? That's what that looks like, is intentionally asking God and looking for what the Lord would want you to do in that.
Yeah.
And so I think when you do that, when you're in Groundhouse, like having a coffee with someone or like reading your Bible or reading a book or whatever, and someone walks by and you're like, oh, like I'm walking, like you're intentionally, you have your glasses on, right? You have your Holy Spirit glasses on. That's what that means.
Yeah.
It's just like living your life so intentionally. And that's hard because, well, you know, there's, you know, rejection and da-da-da-da-da, but honestly, I forget about it and I'm kind of lazy sometimes.
Sure.
And so I think for me, I'm just
Sure.
like putting this on like the armor of God almost every single day of like, okay, this is what I need to be doing. This is what it looks like to be a Christian. And that's how you evangelize more.
I love that image of putting on Holy Spirit glasses. Like, I think that that is such a great way to get us out of ourselves. Because like same, if I'm out, I'm like, I'm gonna go to Groundhouse and I'm gonna meet with this person, and then even that, that's great,
Right.
but like then that's very focused, right? And so then you're kind of ignoring what else is happening around you. And so I do that a lot when I'm out by myself. I'm very, somebody told me, they're like, oh, I saw you and I waved at you and you in Target or whatever, and you didn't even, and I was like, I just am not paying attention, like legitimately, right? But so like, how much of my life do I go through where I'm just not paying attention?
You don't have your Christian prescription?
I don't. Oh my gosh.
We're going to write
Wow.
this message later.
Okay. Yeah, this is, I mean, definitely. You guys work on that. Write it up.
I want to encourage people that, you know, I know that we're talking to singles, we're talking to a number of different people. But I would tell you one thing that you can change if you have a family, if you are a person with children, if you've, you know, husband, spouse, whatever. So it's like, in your family, I think that you should sit down and just ask yourself the question, how are we on mission?
Yeah, that's great.
And so like, because if you're on mission, if you have a mission to accomplish, how does that change your priorities? How does it shift your finances? How do you do that? Like, have that conversation together, just
That's
like
a good
maybe
one.
do a brainstorming sheet of just sitting there going, you know, what is our mission as a family? Is it to get our kids into college? You know, is it like, really, what is your life centered around? Is it to have fun? Is it to, you know, be successful? Like, is it to be a power couple? Like, what is your actual mission as a family? Or is it to share the gospel and to do those things? And so if you do, what are the things that you need to shift that alignment with?
That's
and
good.
so, like I said, and just encouraging parents, you can force your children to go to youth group in church.
Yep.
You absolutely can.
Yep.
It will not hurt them.
Does,
You
yep.
know,
It's good for them, in fact.
everybody's like, I don't want to force them into religion. I'm like, you're not. Like, we as a church, we do not force people into religion. we introduce them to a personal Lord and Savior.
Well,
Jesus
and
Christ.
just to interject real quick, there is a thing that Lucas says a lot is you are giving your kids opportunities to encounter Jesus.
Yeah, you're
That
putting
is
them in the
you're,
terrarium.
you're putting them in an environment where they can encounter Jesus, and so if that helps shake that up, like that perspective of I don't want to force my kids to go to church, like if you can think of it that way, it's just let's put them in the way of Jesus, right? Like let's put them in an environment where they're going to hear about that, and then they get to do with it what they want, right? Like you can have that conversation with your kids too. It's okay to say, I want this for you, I don't want to force it on you, but this is
You're a parent, that's your
important.
job.
Yes.
Well, and
yes.
like we do that with our children where it's like, can I go spend the night at so-and-so's house? Absolutely not. You know, it's like, and then it's like they'll have a friend that's a deep Jesus friend that's like, you know, like they're like, can I go spend the night at that person's house? Sure you can.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm not going to police who you hang out with at youth group or like you go to Culver's with, but no, you can't sleep over at somebody's house where like, I don't know what's going to happen to
Exactly.
you know, but you know, so I'm incentivizing them to have better friends,
Right.
you know,
Right.
by saying yes and no to certain things. We're doing all those things. And if you're going to do ministry, bring your kids with you.
Yeah. I was going to say that is for us being a family on mission. Our mission is, you know, being a part of New Life as a pastor family. When we did the first building campaign that we were here for, the Game Changer campaign, I guess it was right after that when we were raising money to buy the land here that we're currently on. We took up a special offering to buy the land, and we talked to our girls about that. And they were Olivia was in like fourth grade, third or fourth grade.
We are not taking a vacation this year because.
So it was this very, like, it was this conversation about, hey, we are on this mission. This is important. God has called us to this. And so like that for us is obviously different than for a lot of people, but we had this, our kids were in elementary school or younger, right? So our oldest would have been in like third or fourth grade. And so they went down from there, but we had I said, here are the things we are not going to be able to do this year because this is what God has called us to do financially.
We're going to eat out less.
Yes. So I know that that's a bummer, like that we're not going to be able to go to Chipotle. We're not going to be able to go, right? Like I know that is sad, but that's a sacrifice we are going to make for the sake of this mission. And also we invited them, do you want to participate? And so I just remember, I have this memory of Olivia. We were doing like stories, right? Like about the special offering. And I think she was in like third or fourth grade. And she was like, I'm going to give all my money. And I mean, it was like $3, right? But it was like all the money she had at the time. She was like, I want to give this. And I have this video of her like talking about why she wanted to give the money. And I was like, that's it, right? Like that's being on mission is like, okay. And then not like belittling her, like, well, sweetie, it's only $3. So it doesn't really make that much, like to value that she wanted to contribute to that. And just that has, again, shaped, like she invites people to church all the time. I mean, it's just this thing that it's like, you see the fruit of some of that.
When we were talking about the youth taking up a special offering for the parking lot, and she's like, I'll do that.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I just want to remind you that is above your tithe. And she goes, and she looked at me like, I know. I'm like,
duh.
Okay.
Dad, I already knew that.
We've done our job here. So, well, thank you guys for tuning into the podcast this week. Next week, we're going to be starting a series where we walk through 1 Corinthians. So if you want to do that with us, I encourage you to find a reading plan through 1 Corinthians, or you can read along with us as a church. We're going to be covering, I think, the first 2 to 3 chapters next week. So if you want to start reading that and follow along with us, join us back here next week on the 167. We're going to be talking about that. And thank you, Megan and Carissa, for being here.
Have a great one.
Be a family on mission. We out. If you enjoyed this episode of the 167, make sure you like, subscribe, follow, get notified, leave a 5-star rating and a positive review. Tell all your friends to listen as well. Make sure you go over to newlifegardener.com and check out all that we have to offer as a church, and check out our messages online as well. Thanks for listening.